So we are continuing with our discussion on economy. We are with the module social sector. In that we have completed our first lecture that was on inequalities. We have covered the concepts of inequalities, okay, and we have talked about different ratios like Palma ratio, quintile ratio, decile ratio, quartile ratio, different important ratios which are connected to inequalities which can be asked in prelims. And we have also covered an important concept that is Lorentz curve, and I've shown you the graphical representation of inequality of India through Lorentz curve. I've also taught you how to draw the Lorentz curve. And then we have also talked about Gini coefficient, which is nothing but the arithmetic measure of inequality based on Lorentz curve. Okay, so in this session we'll be moving to poverty. So here we'll try to understand mainly the measurement of poverty. We'll talk about different expert groups like Lakdawala recommendations, okay, and we'll talk about Suresh Tendulkar Committee recommendations and the criticism it faced, and then the new committee which was appointed, okay, even with the interference of Supreme Court, that is Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee. We'll talk about these two committees when we discuss about measurement of poverty. So let's get into the discussion. So the topic for today's discussion is poverty. Okay, very important topic. It is directly there in your syllabus. So I think I'll be taking 2 sessions with this. We will cover whatever is required for this particular exam. Okay, so let me first write down the definition. It is a situation. See, poverty is nothing but deprivation from basic amenities. We have already discussed it many times. So just I'm writing it down directly. So it is a situation in which an individual or section of society is unable to meet even the basic necessities of life. Okay, so it is nothing but the deprivation from basic amenities. There are different types of poverty. There are 4 types of poverty. So mainly we talk about absolute poverty and relative poverty. So when we talk about absolute poverty, it is nothing but the definition itself. It is nothing but the deprivation from basic amenities, and you will measure it in terms of poverty line. If you are above the poverty line, you are not poor. If you are below poverty line, based on different criteria, that criteria is what we are going to discuss after this. Below the poverty line, you will be poor. That is what absolute poverty. Relative poverty is nothing but the comparison between 2 people. Even if you are above poverty line, relatively you may be poor when you compare it with your some other friend or partner. Even Mukesh Ambani will be, or even Anil Ambani will be poor when he compare it with Mukesh Ambani. So that is what relative poverty. And relative poverty is actually showing nothing but inequality. Okay, so when we talk about relative poverty, we are actually talking about inequality. So it is it measures inequality. It measures relative poverty. Relative poverty. It measures inequality. So for example, percentage of population earning less than 50% of the median income. Now, why I'm talking about median income, this concept of mean, median, we have discussed in the previous session. The reason why we are taking median is it is the middle value. If you talk about mean, or if you take mean, there may be some problems in the calculation. Not in the calculation, but the rich people income will be added to. Or for example, see what is the per capita income. If you see per capita income, that is 1,03,000. What is this? This is actually average income, right? Total income, or total the net national product at purchasing, net national product at the factor cost divided by total population. National income divided by total population. That is what per capita income. But is it the income which is there with everybody? Is it available to everyone? No. So it is actually mean. This will not give you the actual picture. That is the reason why we are taking median. For example, if you take 3 values, 1, 2, 3, what is the mean here? Mean is average, that is nothing but 2. Mean is 2. What is median? Median is the middle value, that is also 2. But if you take this 1, 2, 300, then what is mean here? Mean will be 303 divided by 3, that is 101. 101 is the mean. But what is the median? Median will be middle value, that is 2. So why we are taking median, I hope you understood. This one person having huge income will be added to these two people. So when calculating poverty, inequality and all those concepts, it won't be desirable. Okay, if that is the case, let's suppose we are calculating the poverty line is at, let's say, 30 or 40, then everybody, if you're taking mean, everybody, mean means average income is 101, nobody is poor. That is how you consider. But is that possible? No. So that is why we are taking median. Median as the middle value. So this two people, this is what we are taking. We are not considering this extreme value there. Okay. Because of this extreme value, there can be deviations in the average. If you take average, that is actually the reason why we are taking median. What are the why we measure poverty? Need for measurement of poverty, it is nothing but to assess the government development programs first. Okay, so we have done a lot of development programs, so we basically can assess if poverty ratio or poverty has come down, means the programs are effective, and also to identify the beneficiaries of the development programs, right? So we can give it to the poor people. So this is actually the reason why measurement of poverty is important. So we will now go and see how poverty is actually measured in India. So the topic that we are going to cover is estimation of poverty in India. Okay, so who collect data? NSO collect data. Okay, in India, poverty was estimated by Planning Commission, now Niti Aayog. Okay, Planning Commission, on the basis of consumption, expenditure data collected by NSSO. Okay, so on the basis of consumption expenditure data which is collected by NSSO, you estimate poverty, and it is estimated on the basis of methodology suggested by an expert group. Okay, so we have to look into these expert groups. 3 expert groups are there. Lakdawala Committee, which was in 1993. Then we have to see Suresh Tendulkar Committee, that was in 2009, and then Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee also we will have to see. So let's start with Lakdawala Committee. The first expert group, Lakdawala Committee, that is in 1993. Okay, so it defined poverty line on the basis of the money required to buy food having minimum recommended nutrition. So it is defined poverty line on the basis of the money required to buy food having minimum recommended nutrition. What was that? That is 2100 kilocalorie per person per day. So per day 2100 kilocalorie in urban areas, and 2400 kilocalorie for rural areas. Why this difference between rural and urban? 2100 and 2400, more manual work, more physical work is done in rural areas. Okay, now who's suggesting this calorie recommendation? Is it actually suggested by Lakdawala Committee? No, this calorie recommendations are suggested by ICMR. Okay, Indian Council for Medical Research. So calorie recommendations. Okay, so these calories are recommended by ICMR. So the ICMR recommended this. On the basis of that, Lakdawala Committee defined poverty line on the basis of calorie intake, 2100 in case of urban area and 2400 in case of rural area. And which method they used, I'll talk about this method later in detail, but just now you understand what is that method. Uniform recall period. Uniform recall period. We will be talking about this uniform recall period. We'll discuss what is mixed recall period. We will discuss, and all those things we will discuss. Okay. So we'll move on to the next one. That is Suresh Tendulkar Committee. Dr. Suresh Tendulkar Committee, 2009. Okay. So it defined poverty line on the basis of expenditure on a basket of commodities. Basket of commodities. Here, basket of commodities, it includes food and others. Some other items are also included, and which was taken at 2011-12 prices. And he have given the poverty line, and the poverty line according to Suresh Tendulkar was poverty line in case of urban areas. It was 33 rupee per day per person, and for rural areas it is 27 rupee per person. It was very controversial at that time because it was too low, and people severely criticized Suresh Tendulkar. Even Supreme Court also interfered, and actually government was forced to cancel or delink all the government programs based on this poverty line. And then identification of beneficiaries was given to the ministries also. So now this programs, all the programs are actually the programs poverty alleviation, all the programs are actually dealing from poverty line. Okay, but later, when Nidhi Aayog came, the different separate task group which was assigned to conduct different study was actually accepted Suresh Tendulkar Committee recommendation, because it is very close to international poverty line also. And in developing countries like India, we cannot keep it for poverty line as so high, because if you keep so high, what will happen is you will be ignoring or neglecting the poorest of the poor or the vulnerable. But here, if you see here, it is very low. Supreme Court also criticized, many economists criticized. Okay, but they have even argued that we will give you 27 rupee, you survive on one day, and all those things is what the argument on those times. I still remember that time when I was preparing. Okay, but see, if you think logically, here it is actually not ridiculously wrong. It is not ridiculously low. It is low, obviously, but we cannot keep poverty line too high. Okay, see, it depends on people. You might have different demands, you may have different demands, but it is all about basic amenities, whether you can survive or not. So 27 rupee, whether you can survive or not. If you think individually, one meal may cost you 50 rupees, so you may not be able to survive. But when we calculate all those things, we calculate on the basis of a household or family, right? So people live in family. That is what the basic understanding. So if you consider, this is how he interpreted, or he might have interpreted, so I am just decoding it. So if you consider a family, let's say 5-member family, per day they can spend 33 rupee. So per day they can spend 165. And monthly, 165 into 30, they can spend 4950. And this is at 2011-12 prices, right? This is spending at 2011-12 prices. Now if you add inflation to this, okay, this is the base year price. So if you add inflation to this, it will be like you can spend around 8,000 now. Okay, so let's suppose your salary is 8,000. The question is whether you can survive. A family of 5 person, can you survive or not with the basic amenities? You might have to, you cannot stay in the city with a better flat or anything. So you have to go to the interior areas, and you have to rent out an apartment for 2,000 rupee, and you have to consume those kinds of food which is required. You have to study in government schools, okay, maybe government hospitals. For health, you have government hospitals. For school, you have government schools. And every other things you have to see. It's all about satisfying the basic amenities. But if you can decode like this, or if you can interpret this like this, I don't think that Suresh Tendulkar values are ridiculously wrong or low, despite the fact that it is low. It is low, there is no doubt in that, but we cannot keep so high value for the poverty line, because when you're trying to identify beneficiaries, you cannot identify every people as the beneficiary. So if you remember in one of our previous video when we discussed about multi-dimensional poverty index, I've told you 55% of the population are poor in India. Okay, so why the criteria is so different, and they have taken around 10 indicators. So 55% people are poor. So if you draw that, if you take the poverty line, 55% people, you have to get the benefit, or you have to give the benefit. So what about the vulnerable? That bottom 10 or bottom 20% will be completely neglected or ignored. So it is very difficult to take them out of poverty. So it is always better to keep at a middle level. No, you cannot keep the poverty line at too high. The reason is more people will come under poverty line. So you can't extend the benefit to the poorest of the poor, or whom actually need the benefit of government programs. So I hope this is clear for all. Then because of criticism faced from different sides, we came up with Dr. C. Rangarajan, and he gave some different criteria. Then later when Nidhi Aayog set up a task group, they actually diverted back to the Suresh Tendulkar Committee. Recommendations were much better. As I've already told you, it is close to international poverty line also. So now the methodology he used is actually mixed recall period. Okay, so mixed recall period data. Okay, mixed recall period. I'll now talk about what is this uniform recall period and mixed recall period. Okay, so in case of URP, 30 days recall for expenditure on the items are taken. So in case of URP, uniform recall period, 30 days recall for expenditure on the items are taken. Okay, so the survey people will come to your house and they will ask you in the last 30 days what all things you have consumed, or what is your expenditure and all those things. So 30 days recall is what in case of URP, and in case of MRP, mixed recall period, there will be a recall of 365 days. Okay, 365 days recall for certain items, for the expenditure on durable goods. Recall for durable goods, 5 items. Okay, so durable goods like furniture, car, etc. Okay, furniture, car, electronics, clothing, footwear, etc. So durable goods, in that furniture, car, electronics, everything will come, TV, all those things will come. Then clothings. So what I want to tell you is it is not only based on food. As I've already discussed, there is a basket of commodities. So food plus other items, clothings will be there, footwear, okay, educational expenses, medical expenses. So these are the 5 items. For these, 365 days recall is taken, and then 30 days recall for all other items. So in the first case, 30 days recall is taken. Now 30 days recall is there for all other items, but for durable items, it is 365 days recall. Now why it is done? Because if you see here in this 30 days recall, if there was a medical expense, huge medical expense, which happened when the survey people come here today, last week there was a huge medical expense. So you'll tell 1 lakh I spent. Then what will happen? In your expenditure, that 1 lakh will come. Okay, so you may come out of poverty, or you might have paid an educational institution bill, or you might have joined the coaching by paying 1 lakh rupee. So if this is what actually used, if you joined last week, when the survey people come, you have to tell that 1 lakh rupee I spent. So you may automatically come out of poverty. Similarly, if you bought a car, or if you bought some furnitures because of Diwali or some festivals, okay, so you may automatically come out of poverty. But that is the reason why 365 days, because you are not going to buy these items every day, right? Every month you are not going to buy, maybe yearly once. So for all other items, 30 days recall is what given. Then one more is there. That method is actually what is used under Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee. So that is modified mixed recall period. So in this, see here, this, let me write it as 1 and this as 2. So the first one is the same. That means the 365 days recall for durable goods, that will be there in case of modified mixed recall period, because it is mixed recall period only modified. What modification I'll tell you. So first one will be same. Second one, 30 days recall, that is also same. So 365 days recall, like in case of Suresh Tendulkar, that is same. 30 days recall, again that is similar to Suresh Tendulkar, that is same. Third one, 7 days recall. 7 days recall for expenditure on few items, like what? Daily consumption that you use, like fruits, vegetables, okay, meat, fish, spices, edible oils, beverages, refreshments, processed foods, and all those things will be 7 days recall will be there. So 365 for durable goods which you buy once in a year, then 30 days for everything else except these regularly used items like meat, fish, okay, all those processed foods, beverages, etc. So these are 3 different ways in which you methods you use. Now let's move on to Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee 2013. Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee 2013. Okay, so there's a third one because this was set up, as I've already told you, due to the controversy related to Suresh Tendulkar Committee. So here he already planned to, when he was appointed, obviously it is crystal clear that poverty line will be high than Suresh Tendulkar. So if poverty line will be high, number of poor will also be high. Okay, so here he defined poverty line PL on the basis of expenditure on basket of commodities, same only, expenditure on basket of commodities. So here poverty line consists of 2 components. There are 2 components. First component is expenditure on food items to purchase food having minimum nutritional requirement of fats and proteins. So you see the first time fats and proteins when we talk about poverty. Okay, so expenditure on food items to purchase food having minimum nutritional requirements of fats and proteins, which are very important nutrition. So second one, expenditure on selected non-food items like conveyance, house rent, clothing, etc. Okay, and it was fixed on the expenditure of median household on these items. So you take the households, lowest households, and median household expenditure is what actually taken. You already understood why median is taken, why not mean. Okay, so here also median expenditure is what taken. So median family, and based on this, how poverty line will be taken? Poverty line expenditure on food, so that will be calculated on the basis of minimum calorie. I'll tell you what is that minimum calorie. Who suggests minimum calorie? Again the same ICMR, Indian Council for Medical Research. Okay, so and let's say this component is X, and then expenditure on non-food items, that is these conveyance, house rent, etc. Okay, that is expenditure on median household, and this will be, let's say, Y. So what is your poverty line? X plus Y will be your poverty line, and here poverty line is actually given as poverty line for urban. Before you have seen 33 in case of Suresh Tendulkar, here it is 47, and for rural it is 32. So how this poverty line is measured? 2 components, expenditure on food and expenditure on non-food. So this, which method it is used? Modified mixed recall period method is used. So Lakdawala uniform recall period, Suresh Tendulkar mixed recall period, Dr. C. Rangarajan modified mixed recall period. Here this is how you get the poverty line. And what is the calorie intake? It is actually suggested by ICMR, and in case of rural area it was 2100, and in case of urban area 1900. If you remember, before it was 2100 in urban area and 2400 in rural area. So here rural area it is 2100 and urban area 1900. Why this change is there? Because the situations have changed. From that time to this time, the manual work has, or the physical work has come down, and people are more calorie conscious also. Okay, so this is the poverty line. And this price is taken at 2011-12 prices only. That is the base year. So both in case of Suresh Tendulkar as well as in Rangarajan, 2011-12 price is what taken. Now, as per Suresh Tendulkar Committee, poverty line, we know that is 33 and 27. So poverty ratio, that is head count ratio, we will write it as H. Okay, head count ratio is the poverty ratio, number of poor divided by total population into 100. That is what the poverty ratio. So let me write it as H. As per Suresh Tendulkar Committee, 22%, and as per Rangarajan Committee, so here it is based on Suresh Tendulkar Committee and Rangarajan Committee, it will be more or less. It will be more because poverty line is more, the criteria is more items are included, fats, proteins, etc. are included. So it is 30%. What you need to know is this. These two values is what you need to remember. Suresh Tendulkar 22%. Which one is better? Even just now I've told you this 22% is actually very close to international poverty line or World Bank's measurement of poverty. And secondly, if you go for this 22%, you can actually target the poorest of the poor or the most vulnerable. Okay, so Nidhi Aayog also set up a task group and they also said that this is better and they are following the Suresh Tendulkar Committee rather than the Rangarajan method. So I hope this is clear for all of you. We have done with the most important topic in poverty, how to measure poverty. So all these are clear for all of you. If you have any doubt, you can get in touch with me here, Instagram or Facebook, and you can join the Telegram channel for all my videos. I've done hundreds of videos and all are there in Study IQ, but you may not get it easily in Study IQ, just like that. So join the Telegram channel. I've shared all my videos over there. So see you guys. Thank you.